Hey everyone, it's spring, or at least that's what the calendar says, but it's still pretty chilly. We actually hit, I think we said 25 degrees the other night, so it hasn't really felt like spring too much, and we are exceedingly dry. If you're new to the channel, I'm Christoph. If you're old to the channel, you're probably sitting around going, where have you been? You haven't done a video since last harvest. And that's correct, and we'll get into that in a little bit. I just stopped by to check in with Gary, see what we want to do about getting planted this year, what our timing was going to be. This week got really complicated, and so I just wanted to touch base with him about what's going on. And I don't know, just maybe drive out to the field and look around a little bit. I'm in here for 5 minutes and it's sprinkling. Can you hear that? Wasn't really supposed to rain today. It's gonna stop, I guess, but that's kind of annoying. For the last week, we've been doing some upgrades to the planter, and we had some parts that were worn out. We replaced them. Some of them were upgrades, some were just kind of the same thing, just newer. But we replaced these arms that now screw in and out. And so, you know, you remember before I had to take this whole shaft off, and there are all these washers in there that had to be cleaned out. Replaced all of this. Is all new because it was wobbling around really bad on all the rows. Redid a bunch of the wheels, ordered some new ones. Got some newer tires on all of these. Newer, not brand new, but newer. Got a box from Shoop. Like this thing. Seed tubes, backup closing wheels, new style backup closing wheel. Looks like it's for disc golf, doesn't it? This is the kind we've always used. And I don't know, they have these for like a few dollars more where you can pop the bearing out, but you don't replace any of this. And supposedly this is a harder rubber, so it won't cut like those other ones do. Who knows? It's worth a try. We'll use them as backup at least. So the other morning I was in here and a raccoon had her babies in this combine that's sitting here. And apparently we were making too much noise that day, so apparently she moved her babies, but they were making so much noise in there. I think there was three different voices I could hear, plus the mom, but not really positive about that. I was kind of hoping that I'd get to see him, but I guess not. Just kind of wanted to come into this field and just check out the perimeter here. I mowed up a little bit around the perimeter last fall to kind of make sure there wasn't any trees creeping out too far, baby ones that is. And for those of you that are back to the channel after my little hiatus here, I got my windshield fixed. Can you believe that? For you new people, that windshield's been broken for like 6 years at least. And it got to the point this fall where I was coming home from a hockey game and it was pretty frosty. I turned on my defrosters so I could see where I was going, and I could hear it like creaking and cracking and moaning. So I decided I better get that fixed. Now the irises are going. I put those in there a couple of years ago. A few years back I came out here and I put in a bunch of fruit trees, and then every year we allow our neighbor, or every other year I guess it is, well it kind of turns out to be every year, because this is between two fields. He runs cattle on here and they graze the ditches and the stalks and whatever, but they also grazed a lot of my fruit trees, or at least knocked them over and crushed them. It needs to be tied up, but that's an apple tree. And originally it was braided. There were two of them, but one side of it died. So it'll probably never make apples because there's nothing to pollinate it with. What is this? Just stuff. But I do like to come out here and like just see what the status is. I've been mowing this up really nice every year, and I was originally trying to get perennials planted out here and get them established. I guess we have some more irises over here. And there was some wildflowers in a couple stretches here, but honestly they probably get choked out by the brome. didn't do a very good job of taking care of it. I didn't know what I was going to do with this piece of ground here. We used to hay it a long time ago, but there's no real reason to hay it anymore because we don't have cattle. I don't really know what I'm going to be doing with it, I guess. There's my antlers. This antler's been out here for, I don't know, a long time, but the mice and everything keep chewing it down to a nub. About twice a year, I put it up here, and then it'll end up down on the ground here in a little while. I'm seeing one other tree that survived pretty well here, and this one, I kind of had good hopes with this one. I kind of twisted it together. That's actually an apricot tree that got just trampled. Damn, I just scared up some deer and I didn't have the camera on. There are 2 deer that just ran through there. Okay, this is kind of a video I didn't really want to have to make because when you take a break, it's really hard to determine how to reintroduce yourself to your own channel, I think. I'm not really sure, but I've never done this really before, but I did take a long break, and for those of you that have been hanging on, wondering what's going on, I appreciate hanging on and not just dumping the channel. For those of you new, I guess this is new to you, but it'll be new to everybody, I guess. Usually, for years, I've been planning on using this whole area here and putting an apiary in here. I'd like to put a bunch of beehives in here, and I was planning on doing perennials. I had fruit trees planted out here, and it was all kind of folly because I knew the bees didn't really need that, but it's just kind of what I wanted to do with this little area here. I've always loved this spot. I've mentioned that many times before in videos, and I decided I'm not doing it because, well, let's go back to the beginning. Where we left off last year, I kind of ended making videos in the middle of harvest. And it was primarily because Morgan got really sick. Morgan, for those of you that don't know, is my border collie. She got really sick with cancer and got a really bad MRSA infection. And that was really, really hard to deal with. I was busy with harvest, and I feel guilty. There's nothing I really could do, but I probably wasn't able to give her the attention that she deserved. And it got tough. It got to the point where she couldn't stand, she wasn't eating, she'd fall over. Like, it was really hard to watch. I was getting her into the vet. They're doing tests and medicines and all this stuff, and nothing was working. And then we'd, try something different, and that wasn't working. It was bad. It was really bad. But that, on top of like stress from hail that we had last year, which was the first time I've had to deal with that. I didn't really know how that was going to work out. I didn't know how the insurance worked out on that. And it worked out fine in the end, but it was a lot of stress to someone that has never dealt with that sort of stuff on the scale. I mean, anytime insurance is involved, it's probably not a good thing, but I've never had to deal with it on a farming level. Numbers are way bigger. It really kind of scared me, to be quite honest. And in the end, I ended up having to put Morgan down. And God, okay. It's been almost a half a year. Anyway, I ended up having to put her down. It got to the point where she had no hair on one whole side of her body. It was nothing but scabs, and it was bad. So, I had just had it. And then I was sitting down at the farm one day, and I think I just mentioned to my aunt when I came in for lunch that I need a vacation, just kind of as a joke. And she's like, I just brought the mail in, and she's like, well, here, go on a cruise. There was a pamphlet from a cruise line. Once you take a cruise, you're forever on their mailing list for everything. And she pushed this cruise thing at me, and I was like, maybe. Then I started leafing through it. I'm like, God, maybe I should. And I started doing some thinking. I realized that I moved back down to Nebraska from Minnesota 11 years ago. I haven't left the state yet, period. I guess I did go to a funeral once in Iowa. I was like, what are you doing? You used to travel a lot, like all over with the band, and I've been all over the continent, and like, what are you doing? I don't have kids. I'm not married. Morgan is now passed. There's nothing really stopping me from doing some traveling. So I started looking around on the internet, and I went ahead and decided to book a 1-month trip through. It's going to be a crazy time. That leads me to the next reason as to why I kind of stopped doing videos. Because when I started this channel, I didn't really know what it was going to be about. It was just me doing farming stuff, you know. And I didn't really know much about farming when I started, so I was just kind of like me kind of learning farming. And as it progressed, then I was getting into other things. I was doing concerts and stuff like that for one job. I was doing hockey games and working on the ice crew, and everything was getting very convoluted. And there was no real direction that was like feeding the algorithm. I divided it up recently into 3 channels: Kindred Farms, Christoph Kindred Eats, and Christoph Kindred Travels. And I actually made a website for them. I'll put the links to all this stuff around the screen and wherever it goes. I decided to break it up because that way, if you weren't really into watching the farming thing, but maybe you stumbled across cooking and stuff, because I do have a culinary background. I guess I should preface by saying that. That way, if you just wanted to watch cooking and food and eating and trying new restaurants and stuff, that'd be on one channel. Farming and vlogging, that would kind of be in this channel over here. And travel, which is set up, but there's no real subscribers or anything, that'll be over here, because that's gonna be something totally different that is not related to farming. That's almost YouTube suicide by breaking your channel up like that, but the things are so different from each other that I don't think it was going to hold anybody's attention. If you were into farming and all of a sudden you're like, why is this guy cooking and going to hockey games and traveling? I don't know how much traveling I'll do, but that will be a long trip, and I would like to you know, document it. So I decided I'm going to make up a different channel, and then to keep everything cohesive, I did go ahead, and I've had the domain name for years, but christophkindred.com will be kind of the central location for where everything will be. It's going to be a big change, but there has been a lot going on over this past winter. Personal things, dealing with Morgan, dealing with insurance, and I just needed to take a break for a while and kind of reevaluate and realign. We've done that, and it's spring, supposedly. At least that's what the calendar says. You can tell I'm still out here in a hoodie. I mean, stuff's green back here, but it's still not terribly warm. Wow, that was a really wordy bit. Anyway, this is a really busy week for both Gary and I, so we kind of decided we're gonna try and plant or get started maybe Wednesday in a couple days here. It's a really busy, since it is a busy week for us. I have hockey playoffs starting tonight. Tomorrow morning I have to unload semis for a show in town. Then I have hockey playoffs again tomorrow night, and maybe Wednesday night, depending on how these first 2 games go. All right, enough talking. Let's move on. Well, that was kind of therapeutic. I wasn't really planning on getting out and wandering that much, but we're not going to get any planting done today, so a little wander through the woods is not a bad thing. That's not really what I was planning on doing. I was planning on going the perimeter, which I've done, and it looks fine, but now it's interesting to see what you find. You're walking these old ditches and waterways.
Why am I always my own enemy? Stronger is something I wanna be. Hope keeps on breaking on the kitchen floor. I want more than this. I'm not good at being nice to me. Always something else I wanna be. Every time it's different than before. I get
Ready? Ready?
Here you go. Here you go.
Ooh, I got knocked down again. Ooh, but
Come on, bring it back.
up from it.
Bring it back.
Time turned out to be a thing that burned me in the end. But pain is just a season, all the worst things.
Sit. Good girl. Morgan.
I'm trying to learn to be okay with it. 'Cause if I can't,
Good girl. Morgan. Morgan, off. Good girl.
maybe I'm just a
Good girl. You want a cookie?
turn all of my misery.
Lay down. No. Lay down. Go back. Good girl.
I want